Hello, this is Recording Julia. Just before we start the episode, I just wanted to give you a small trigger warning that this episode is going to tackle the topic of sexual abuse, mostly in the second part of the episode. So if this is a sensitive topic, you can decide whether or not you're ready to listen to a conversation about it. Other than that, now I will give the mic to Recording Julia and to my guest. Thank you. My guest today is the vocalist of a post-hardcore band from Germany. I immediately fell in love with her voice and then with the vulnerable yet strong lyrics she sings. And now I'm really excited to get to know the stories behind them. Kim of Chasing Dreams is here with me today. Hi, Kim.
Hey.
I'm very excited to have you here because I discovered your band pretty recently via Instagram recommendations or anything. So the algorithm did a good job. I wanted to know, how has this year been for Chasing Dreams so far?
First of all, thank you. Thank you for reaching out and for having me today. This year has been really quiet for us as a band. The most quiet year we've had so far due to personal circumstances, basically. I mean, we did record new songs and we did take some time in the studio for songwriting. And we only played one show so far. We do have two shows coming up in November, but I started master studies next to my job, and another band member is going to be a dad in, I don't know, maybe a couple of hours or days from now. So yeah, it's really, really exciting for us as a band. So this year has been a bit more quiet, which is nice for chances like this to take some time. Yeah.
A lot of new adventures and experience to maybe translate it into the band or not, to keep it for yourself.
Yeah,
so that's nice
that's
too.
true.
The first line you wanted to talk about is from the song It Hurts by Enter Shikari. So very good choice. I really love it. It hurts every time we fall, but your worth doesn't change at all. Why did you choose this line?
I have no idea. I'm really, it's funny because when I looked up a couple of episodes, I realized that you are a huge fan of Enter Shikari as well. I didn't know that when I chose the line, which is really funny because I'm a huge fan. The band inspires me musically, but also around the lyrics, around the topics they sing about, and the way they do touch some really vulnerable topics. I like that. It just came into my head. I was just thinking about which song could I choose? Which line do I like? And it just was there. And I just felt like that's what I want to talk about because it's life, right? For me, it just made sense. It does hurt, everything that's happening that feels horrible, but it doesn't affect my worth as a human being. And it feels like it does fit into the lyrics from Chasing Dreams, from most of the songs actually. Like, it just feels like it fits together really well.
Is it something that you thought about before, that you were failing and thought that it was affecting your worth and it got better with time?
I would say that almost my whole life I connected my worth to outcomes, to outer circumstances, to other people's behavior and opinions. And it feels like this little sentence is really summarizing what I went through in my life, to realize that no, actually my worth is not attached to any of these things that happen because it's in here. So yeah, I think that I really resonate. Like I did, my whole life. Yeah.
And was it like you heard the line and it ticked instantly, or did it take you a few listens of the song?
Well, I just know when I listen to the song the first, it has a really good melody. It's like in the head right away. I don't know. I feel like it caught me. I'm trying to remember if I heard it on the show, or if I heard it like on the record first. I don't know. I don't remember. I just know that I think it was last year. I was standing in front of the stage at a concert, and when the song came, it was like I just felt like I could breathe. Like, yeah, wow, I love this song. Yeah.
Yeah, Enter Shikari has they have their way of making you feel better and turning it into a party, but in the end it's very deep. And
yeah, that's true.
And it makes me think that they have also these lyrics in Jailbreak: question everything, including your own beliefs, and especially your own beliefs about yourself. Self-esteem is something that is very hard to have, and which is also different, but also correlated to self-confidence. Both are very hard to get in. For some people, it takes their whole life to have it.
Yeah. I would say it's a lifelong process for everyone, but that's just my opinion. I would say it doesn't stop. Like I don't finish this and then I'm there. I like this line as well because it's about how do I think about myself? How do I speak to myself? I'm trying to practice, like, to observe. How do I speak to myself and about myself? And I guess we live in a society where we are being taught to, when someone says a compliment, to say, oh, no, no, no. To make ourselves smaller so it's more comfortable. I remember when people said, like, oh yeah, great voice, wow. In the beginning I was like, no, yeah, I don't know. And I was like, why? That's so kind to say. And actually I love singing and I do like our records. I didn't listen. My first band, I didn't listen to the records because I was like, oh no, that's my voice. I cannot listen to that. And I'm like, I'm proud of this. I'm really proud, and I can listen and I can say, that's nice. And I don't look for the negative automatically anymore every time. I used to do that after a gig. I went off the stage and I was like, oh, what should I do better? What did I do wrong? What was wrong? And now really try to be grateful and try to be like, oh, that was nice. And or to see it with a bit of humor, I think, when something goes wrong, and not to speak to me like I'm the worst person on the world. But yeah, I think that it makes a lot of sense because if I do observe how I speak to and about myself and try to work on that, I can be a role model for others. I have nephews and I'm in the age where we start to be role models for children. And I think it's really important to teach them, or to be a role model, to be loving for myself, to myself, because they cannot learn to do that for themselves if I don't live that, if they don't see me being actually okay with who I am.
It's very nice to hear because, yeah, it's very hard in a world where sometimes modesty is taking over self-confidence. If we compliment you, you need to be, as you said, very quiet. When, if someone tells you sing well, you should be like, yeah, thank you, I know.
Yeah. It's like, why do I feel uncomfortable saying, yes, I do? Why? I mean, I think we could write like a master's thesis about the why. Because it's like deep down. And yeah, I think also maybe especially for us women, but I think it's a general, it's a Western society thing that we are like, oh no. I don't see people so often saying, oh, I do my job really well, like I'm really good at my job. And it's always like trying to stay small. And yeah, it's interesting. It's just really interesting.
I think because of this, so self-confidence is also mistaken by cockiness. And this is also because a lot of people themselves don't have this self-confidence, so maybe are a bit jealous when they see some people actually loving being in their body, being aware of their skills.
Yeah. And I mean, I think there's a huge difference between being cocky and being confident and being in love with, or like loving myself, because I can know what skills I have. I can own my strength, my skills, and the way I like myself and my body and the person I am. And at the same time, I can be happy for others. I can see their strength and their beauty and their love and their hearts. And I think that's the opposite. When I'm being cocky, I'm putting myself on a pedestal and looking down. But if I'm really aware and I open my heart for myself and for others, I'm not better, but I'm also not worse. We are all on the same level then. And I think, yeah, it's really healing to see it like that for me.
Yeah, life is not a competition and we can all win in the end.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And you were also talking about your nephew and giving an example for children that surround you. And I think that's very, for us, I don't know how old you are, but for us 90s kids, I would imagine.
Yeah.
This is a very basic examples, but I think our moms were also conditioned to, it was this trend of being skinny and everything. And it's hard to live through it and also try not to give that fear or that anxiety to your kids.
Hard and such a huge topic. I've been speaking to my partner about this, or like speaking about our childhoods and like how hard it is to, like, for me, I can only speak about the female perspective, but just to accept my body as a woman, the way it is, no matter how much I weigh, how I look, what shape I have. And I said, well, I didn't have a role model.
Mm-hmm.
Not because my mom did a bad job, my mom did the best job ever, but I didn't have a role model, as I didn't have a woman being comfortable in her skin, being like, I love my body and I take care of my body. What I'm trying to build is that I want to treat my body with love and myself, like my head and my body. And I never saw an adult person doing that when I was a kid. And I think what I also do sing about in songs is that I never heard you're good enough the way you are. I never heard that. Now I would say that's the most important thing that a kid has to hear.
Yeah.
Like every day. I mean, I'm not a mom, so I don't have any experience around that, but that's what I feel like. It's so important because being a child is hard, growing up is hard. I think that's just really, really important to be a role model, to do it differently because we can. I mean, our parents and like their generation, of course they could, and everyone has the chance and everyone has a choice. But I think it's easier today to get help, to tidy up on the inside.
It's a bit contradictory at the same time today because there's more and more messages about self-love, wherever you are on Instagram, TikTok, a lot of about body positivity or encouraging people to do what they want to do. And at the same time, everyone has access to every critics and everyone can critique everyone.
Yeah.
So it's also a bit complicated. And I can imagine that as an artist, being in a band, you're also exposed to that. So is it difficult for you?
I would say that it always is a topic. Like, I mean, I'm the only woman in my band and I'm the singer. So it's natural that I am more in the center of the focus than the other band members are. But yeah, I would say that especially the judgment part, like what I wear, how I look, how I sing. I would say there is still, unfortunately, there still is a difference on how people respond to women on stage and to men. And I do experience that when, we had a lot of local shows in the years and there were women on stage, all types of women on stage. And, even people that were standing next to me were like speaking about the clothes, about the body size, about the hair, and about, no, I don't like that. It would sound better if a man would sing. And I did, not in this band, but I did experience a band member saying to me that in music business, he respects men right away. But as a woman, I have to prove that I'm worth his respect first.
So a band member from your old band told you that?
Yes. Yeah, from another band I had in the past. He didn't mean that, like, he didn't want to be mean. It was just basically, for him, it was really natural because I'm a woman.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of ignorance and just a lot of things that we are taught without being aware of it. But if other people can understand that, those people would think that can at some point, hopefully. It's not hard science.
No, but I would say that from my experience, it has changed in in the way that I can tell. I don't know about the whole picture because we are still a little band. But I would say that today when we do play a show, and it happens sometimes that the band member who is like responsible for all the technical stuff, for all the organization of the instruments and electricity on stage, when he's not there, I'm the person who would jump in because I do know how to do that. And sometimes I think the first reaction from the people in the venue would be to ask the other guy, not me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I say, oh no, this is how it's like, then it's fine. They don't laugh about me or they don't make any weird comments. What I do experience is from people who do watch us, who do watch shows, sometimes being very boundary crossing. I did experience men just hugging me or touching me or just being much too close in my space after a show, or like without me asking, like commenting on how hot I look on stage. Like things where I was like, that is absolutely like, I don't want to hear that. I would say that in general, the bands and the staff and the technicians, it has changed. It's much more normal today. Yeah, to be mixed.
It's good to hear. Has it also been something for you that you had to change, or you thought you had to change a bit who you are to fit in and to not be too loud or whatever?
Well, yes. Yeah, it feels like the same answer always. Like I always felt like I'm either too much or not enough. And it probably makes sense when you listen to our lyrics that I've been going through a lot of struggle and a lot of self-doubt over the years. When I look at my role as a singer of this band, I did feel like now I have to be this role. Like the first few shows, I do need to wear something very special. I do need to look very special. And I put like a lot of makeup on my face to feel like now I fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is like hard music. And in hard music, I have to have hard makeup. Like, I don't know. It was like in my head when, I don't know, at some point I started to question that and I started to feel like, well, I just want to be me. And sometimes I am absolutely for a lot of makeup and a fancy outfit, but sometimes I'm not. And I try to do exactly that now, however I feel. Like when I feel like I'm going on stage, and obviously going on stage is a chance where I can wear other outfits than I would wear when I go to work. Like sometimes it's nice for my inner freak to put on like a fancy outfit or makeup, but I don't feel the pressure now anymore to do that.
Yeah, now you do it for
Yeah.
yourself and not for the others, and that changes everything.
What I would say though is that I do feel, and I always felt like I do have to. I mean, it's also show business. Of course, I do have to speak to the crowd, and that for me sometimes still feels very unnatural. Because when I go on stage and I go into the mood of our songs, I just want to be in my emotions sometimes, and I don't really want to speak.
Yeah.
But it would be really weird to just stand there. And I know some really big bands, they do that. They don't speak, they don't say a word, which maybe would not be me either. But I do feel like the pressure to fit into what people expect me to be. So yeah, I would say sometimes I'm like, okay, I have to say something now, and then yeah, I just say something to say something and not because I really want to.
Yeah, I can understand that because your songs are very personal, so it's your own bubble. And I can guess that sometimes they get you in your feelings. So
yeah, that's
talking
true.
about it, the next line you wanted to talk about is from your song Hell, where you say, blame myself, thought I was wrong. What the hell did I say no? Couldn't sleep and felt alone. judged myself, tried moving on. Why did you choose this one?
So I do feel like we could speak about all our songs, which is nice because I feel like they're all meaningful and they all say something very special. But I do feel like this is one of the most powerful songs that we have, especially because I could choose just Kim and not Chasing Dreams, but just me. I think it's the most important message that we do have in our songs, and I always say something on stage before we play this song because I think it's needed. It's needed, it's necessary so that people do listen. And it's not a good life song, I have to say that, because the topic is really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And me saying the next song is about sexual abuse and about dealing with experiencing trauma like that and about trying to live life after this happens. I always say it's also about the hope, because there is help and there is light at the end of the tunnel. But still, people don't really want to hear that when they go on a concert. So I do feel like for some people it's like, oh, and then they stand there, look at me like
a bit uncomfortable. Yeah, but at the same time, well, obviously we don't want to hear that this happened, but bands talk about more and more about mental health, about the issues, about this issue also, which unfortunately happens way more than we think. And this is also how you connect with people, because there are probably people in the crowd who can relate to it.
Yeah, that's true. That's exactly why I do always say something. So, because, I mean, we play a lot of shows in Germany. We did have one tour in the UK, and I felt like it was easier to share the message there because it was their mother language. And in Germany, of course, because also sometimes I'm very fast and people don't really hear the lyrics when they're watching us playing live. But me saying this song is about this and then performing, the whole band performing to this energy, I think it's really powerful. And why I chose this line, the part blame myself, thought I was wrong, is a really good transition to the topic that we already had. It fits into, of course, I look where am I wrong first? What did I do wrong? What should I have done better to prevent this? What should I do? The next part, like, what the hell did I say no? Is more like a question, because for me, in my example, in my experience, I froze. I was completely frozen. And I didn't, I mean, in Germany, the law is no means no, which means if I don't say something, it's not rape, it's not assault, because I didn't say something. And for me, it was important to put that in, because I think it's way, way more difficult than that, because I did know I didn't want this to happen, but I didn't know what to do in that moment. And I completely, my body reacted with freezing and just letting it happen. And that made me really angry, more angry than the fact, I mean, I don't know if more angry, but I know that I know, and I do believe that there are so many people out there who experienced abuse and don't know that they did experience it, or know that it feels uncomfortable somewhere in the body, but they don't really know why, because they accepted that this is going to happen now. I chose this line because I think that whenever we do get the chance to speak about this, it's important to take the chance and to say that abuse can look very, very different. For many people, for all people, it can look completely different. And for me, it was a journey to know that I'm not at fault here. It's not my fault. And I tried to move on. I judged myself and I was like, my God, what was that? And it was, for me, one of the experience that the song is about was in a job, and it was a former boss that abused me. And I know I called a friend and I said, I feel really uncomfortable seeing him tomorrow because I don't know why. And I couldn't really touch it. in that moment. I had to explain that to my friend and say, so this is what the situation was like. This is how I felt. This is what I've done. And then she told me that was abuse. And I needed months to see that for myself. And now, I mean, unfortunately, and oh so lucky, because I know now I can help other people with that. I have the experience very clear, like in front of my eyes, and I know that it was very clear. It was very clear. And my behavior was really clear, but the person didn't care. And I think that it's really, really important that we speak about this so that hopefully women grow in their confidence of knowing that it is okay to change your mind. It is okay to say no. It is absolutely okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this is a topic we could speak hours about, because obviously I was in an abusive power situation as well, because it was my boss at that time and I wanted to keep my job and I didn't know how to react. And I am very sure that this happens way more often, like you said, than we know. And I was working, like, luckily, funny, I was working in a position where I was the person that women should go to when they experience something like that. I was helping women who suffered from like sexual abuse or whatever, mobbing in their job. And then it happened to me. And I didn't know how to deal with that. So eventually I would write this down and I would write this song. And yeah, for me, it's really healing. And it's not uncomfortable for me to speak about that anymore. But I know it's uncomfortable for people to hear it. So I always have to question myself. Do I try to protect myself or the person? Or is it just uncomfortable because we don't want to face that this is actually happening and that this is a huge problem that we do have in our society? So I try to speak about it, even though I know some people who are listening to the podcast or who are speaking to me when I have conversations about it might feel uncomfortable listening to this. But I think it's a good way of feeling uncomfortable, because it should be normal. It should be normal that we speak about this so that more and more people can be aware that this is actually, there are so many ways, there are so many places where I can seek help, and we are not alone. I think that's maybe even the most important message. We are not alone. And it does fit to the question. Like, I always thought I'm too much or not enough. And also, I always thought I'm the only person this happened to. No one experienced something like that before, because I'm so stupid. Why did I not do this? Me, it's only me. And then realizing now, I did speak to so many people who experienced similar situations. There are so many great self-help groups and 12-step programs, and there are so many great things out there that help people who experienced horrible stuff, who have like grown into addicts, like who have tried to numb what happened to them, numb their feelings with substances or with behaviors that are addictive. And all of these places where we can seek help, they help me, they help people to know that actually you are not alone at all. There are so many people who feel exactly like you. And I just know that for me, it's the most powerful feeling. And it was absolutely helpful to feel the strength and the power to work through this and to not be afraid anymore, to not be like, I don't work there anymore. But now I'm not afraid anymore if I see that person. For years, I've been like, oh no, I don't know. I cannot see this person. I avoided the whole town. I avoided to drive past this building. I don't do that anymore, because now I know there's nothing that I need to be afraid of today. And I think that's huge. And I wish that everyone, and I know that everyone can get that. It just takes time.
Even though it's over, for the victim, it's never over. When for the assaulter, usually it's behind him, especially if there is no judgment behind that or everything. So now you own it, and I guess it took you a bit of time to realize that yes, it was not your fault and it shouldn't define how you live.
Yeah.
And you were talking about that there are many ways to get help. What helped you the most?
I mean, it would be very romantic if I would say writing the song and the music would be, it would suit very well to this format, but it wouldn't be true. It did help me a lot. It did help me to grow as a person, as a human being, and I think as a woman to accept that I have many different layers and have many different moments, and I can be very feminine, I can be very masculine, I can be anything that I want. Definitely making music and being part of a band has helped me in that. But to grow out of this situation, out of this trauma, I would say getting to know my real self, which is, maybe it sounds a bit like spiritual and like how do we do that? But I did, and I'm still in therapy, which helps definitely. But what I did was I completely changed my life. I completely changed my routines, my willingness to work on myself, to look at the stuff that happened to me, but also to look at the stuff that I have done, looking at my past and taking responsibility for myself helped me to, understand that I'm not a bad person. Didn't choose to suffer, to be in pain, or to use drugs or whatever to feel better. I didn't learn how to cope with my feelings, how to deal with that, and learning who I am and how can I deal with my emotions in a healthy way and not numb them away. I stopped drinking alcohol almost 3 years ago. And I would say that that was one of the best decisions I've made my whole life, and maybe even helped more than the music. Because with that, I stopped to numb my emotions, to numb myself. I did get a lot of help, and I do reach out to people who feel the same, who have the same issues, who have the same illness or addiction. And knowing that I'm not alone, I think that has helped me the most. Sorry, that was a really long answer to your question.
No.
I had to get there. Yeah, I think knowing that I'm not alone, that there are people who know exactly how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You also talked a lot about that you looked at your past. So I guess you did a lot of introspection, which can be very hard, especially to start with, because you have to face reality, which alcohol helped you forget about it. And so you just gain clarity, which at the beginning I can imagine was very hard, but in the end was worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really painful process, but for me, it was very necessary to find peace with the past, with my childhood, with all the stuff that happened in my teenage years, with all the feeling like I don't fit in anywhere. And then, yeah, of course, also with the trauma and with the abuse. For me, it was necessary. I would say I had to fall down. I had to fall very deep to be willing to do the work, to finally change something, to grow as a person, to get to know the real me deep down and what can I give back to the world. And I think that helps as well to know that, well, it's not like I'm not a victim who sits there in the self-pity. I can use this experience as one of my superpowers because I can help others with that. And I really like to see it as that.
When you wrote the song, at which stage of your healing journey were you?
I would say now at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, or like really in the middle, in the chaos, I wasn't sure. Should I really write this? Can I say that? Oh my God, this is like too heavy. And does the band accept lyrics like that? And do I want to do that? It was a long process, but in the end, I was very sure. And then a very healing experience for me was being in the studio producing the song. It's always very healing for me to be in the studio because I do love our producer and the way we connect. He always gets out all the emotions out of me when we are together. It's really beautiful. But especially seeing that, and it took a long time because the first times were really, I was making myself small, and I didn't scream, I didn't shout. It was more like like I couldn't really sing this with power. And during the process of the recording, like I've done it over and over again because he was like, no, there's more. And then I even cried. I know I cried when I was singing the song in the studio in the end. And that felt like I can really let that go and put it all into the song. And then, yeah, the music video means a lot to me as well. I do love dancing. Dancing is one of the things that I do believe that is one of the most beautiful ways of expressing art and feelings. And having a dancer for the video, for me, it was the most beautiful thing.
Also, you said that you were not sure how the band or how the other band members would react to it. Did they know about your experience?
Some of them did know that I have been abused, but some didn't. I think it was more like, here's the song, here are the lyrics. And then they were like, yeah, cool. I mean, I'm the only woman, and I think it's really typical. It was more like, okay, cool song. Yeah, let's do it.
Do you think they just didn't understand at first, or didn't want to ask questions?
Yeah, I think they did understand. It was more like, huh. Like, okay. Maybe more like, we don't really know what to say, so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't comment on my lyrics or want to change them, or they don't do that at all. And I think it was more respect, like, okay, we don't need to speak about this. I think it's more a way of respecting that I did place this topic there, and probably being like, if she wants to speak about it to us, she will, in a way.
Yeah, leaving room for you to talk about it if you want, instead of pushing the topic on you.
Yeah.
That's good. Now that you are almost at the end of your healing journey, I don't know if there's ever an end to it, but do you have any advice for people that might experience the same thing, but that are at the very beginning of it?
Well, I don't think there's an end. I just wanted to comment on that. But I do think that I'm on the other side of it. Like, I do believe that there is a point where the lighter moments, the more enjoyable moments, are more than the darker ones. But it's never gone. Like with addiction, like I speak about in other songs, there's no healing. It's not healed and then you're done. But I always feel like it's important to say and to share a message of hope. Like, there is help. Like I've said, like probably 50 times in the last couple of minutes. You're not alone. I needed to hear that. And I can only give what helped me. So I know that I want to say that there is help available. And even if there's a tiny little step towards help, just reaching out to someone or opening up to a friend or opening up to a stranger. So many ways where men can reach out, like in an anonymous way, and just share what happened. It's a great first step. I think speaking about it is very helpful because it takes the power out of the thoughts that are circling over and over again in the head. And I think we do have a special gift when we experience stuff like that, because we need to start loving ourselves. We need to start the process of getting to know who we are and of accepting who we are with all the parts, with all the experiences. Because I don't believe there's a way to recover from this if I don't start giving myself love, the love that I need, and to try to fill this hole inside of me with love. So I think that's what I want to share.
Thank you very much, Kim. This was
Thank you.
A very important and interesting topic. love talking about it with you.
Thank you, me too. And thank you so much for inviting me and giving me the space here.
And so now, what's next for Chasing Dreams?
Oh, we do have 2 shows in November. So we're gonna meet soon to rehearse because this year, as I said, has been very quiet. So we have to make sure that I still know the lyrics and everyone else still knows their instruments. And yeah, for now we're really looking forward to that. And then yeah, we'll see what is waiting for us.
I'm excited about it. For everyone listening, go listen to Chasing Dreams wherever you listen to music. Go check them out on Instagram, check where they are playing because maybe it's next to your place. You can follow me on Instagram at Into the Cave Pod. I will talk to you again next week with a new guest. And meanwhile, be kind to yourself. Bye.
Bye.